When Top Gun Maverick was first released in theaters, there was this theory online that he was actually dead during the entire movie. Now, I do not claim to have created this theory, only that I read about it and it struck me as interesting, but I was kind of unsure at the time. However, having watched this film now 3 times, I can say that I now fully agree 100% that Maverick did indeed die in the Dark Star crash, and that the remainder of the film is Maverick's afterlife redemption story. Now, if you haven't seen the movie before, sorry, spoilers ahead. As the film opens, we are in the real world. Maverick is a test pilot for the Dark Star project, a hypersonic scramjet experimental aircraft being developed by Lockheed Skunk Works, bearing a striking similarity to the SR-71. He seems to be living the ultimate bachelor life, with motorcycles, sports cars, 4x4s, and of course, a $1 million P-51 all at his disposal. Wait, is this hangar on a Navy base? Is this like his assigned quarters, or does he pay rent? Anyway, however, he is haunted by the mistakes of his life. A photo montage shows us this, with pictures of Goose, Iceman, Goose's son Bradley, with both parents dead, and Maverick himself with his own father who died in Vietnam when Maverick was just a boy. Awards and accolades decorate the hangar. Maverick seemingly has it all: success, fame, and a history of distinguished accomplishments. Now, as a test pilot, Maverick has left combat missions behind him to test the limits of new experimental aircraft. It seems to be truly an amazing life of freedom, as Maverick is married to the sky, and there are no wives or children in this man's life. During the flight above the western United States, the aircraft begins to spin, breaks apart, and falls out of the sky. Back at the control center, all telemetry stops at this point and the screens go dark, symbolizing both the death of the airplane as well as its pilot. We cut to a backcountry gas station or truck stop in southern Idaho, with Maverick, seemingly and impossibly, having survived the crash unharmed and walking into town, still in his flight pressure suit. But when is this? The Dark Star flight occurred at dusk, and Pete Mitchell crashes before sunset over southern Idaho. The next time we see him, he is walking along a lonely country road. There is no sun. Is this the same day or early the next morning? If it is the next morning, it's before sunrise, but there are quite a few people well into their breakfast when he walks in. This is the first clue of the dreamlike continuity of the film. And it only gets more unusual as we move along. Everything at this point is no longer in the real world, but exists only as Pete Mitchell's imagination-like dream world of his own making, or some sort of limbo, higher dimension that he's been thrown into. This is where Maverick spends the rest of the movie, sorting out his past mistakes, regrets, hopes, and dreams. Pete's journey with accepting that he had lived a great life, but not the one he wanted. While he is a naval aviator, he knows that he missed the chance to marry, have children, and fix his broken relationship with Bradley, aka Rooster. The remainder of the film is us watching Maverick create a reality for himself where he is the hero, the older military pilot whom alone has the skills to successfully complete a mission that, for reasons, can only be accomplished with the F-18 Hornet, the last fighter jet that Maverick flew and is an expert in. This is the ultimate male fantasy of not accepting that time has caught up with you, the desire to prove that age and experience can be better than those younger and stronger, to prove that youth is wasted on the young. Letting go and passing the torch is one of the hardest things for a military man to do. Maverick is swimming against the tide that is bringing his career to a close, but in this dream world he can still be the hero he wants to be, as we are always the hero in our own dreams. There is an underlying theme of reconciliation with Penny and Bradley as well. Maverick's wish to have the family he never did weighs on him, but his fear of getting too close and loving someone only to risk losing them is something he's never been able to do.
Easy for you to say. No wife. No kids. Nobody to mourn you when you burn in.
By the end of the movie, Maverick has conquered all of his demons, rekindles his romance with Penny, flies one last hero mission, and even gets to have one last dance with his long-lost love, the F-14.
But there will be others.
There will be others.
how do we know that everything in the film isn't real? Well, let's discuss people, places, and events. There are things that don't seem to make sense, people being places that don't make sense, and timelines and events that don't make any sense, given that the movie is supposed to take place in about a 3-week period. Let's start with the Dark Star crash. Within mere hours of ejecting and surviving a Mach 10 accident at 80,000 feet, Maverick is walking and talking, still in his pressure suit, getting a briefing and a lecture from Admiral Kane. Despite later on 2 pilots being held for a couple days for observation after a subsonic low-altitude ejection out of an F-18, Maverick is given 24 hours to report to Top Gun with only as much as a medic asking him if he's okay. The fastest known ejection survived by a pilot was at 768 miles per hour. Maverick surviving 7,000 miles per hour is pretty far stretch.
For reasons known only to the Almighty and your guardian angel, you've been called back to Top Gun.
Maverick arrives at Top Gun, presumably TDY, on his motorcycle and in civilian clothes. No uniform bag, no luggage of any kind is seen. Remember that the mission is less than 3 weeks away, so everything we see in the movie occurs within about 14 days, so he should have some bags with him. Cyclone and Warlock, they brief Maverick at Top Gun, are in the hangar, or at the beach, or on the carrier, order the strike, are in the operations room, on the flight deck, and in the control tower on the carrier. The entire movie builds up the threat of the 5th-gen fighters that even the venerable F-18 wouldn't stand a chance against. This is hammered into us again and again, yet Maverick is able to defeat 2 of them at close range in a 1970s F-14. If Maverick is alone in his dream world, where do all these people come from? I think it's pretty clear they are all manifestations of Maverick's making. There's one that I don't think he did create, a sort of guardian angel to help him through this difficult time. Rear Admiral Solomon Bates. Throughout the film, Bates seems to serve as the voice of reason for Maverick, helping him along in difficult situations, sorting things out, giving him encouraging words. Bates was the peacemaker between Maverick and Cyclone when they first meet at Top Gun during the initial mission brief. Bates stops Maverick from ruining the moment when Cyclone makes him team leader. Bates is on the aircraft carrier before the mission, telling Maverick, "You're where you belong." A seemingly innocent remark,
You're where you belong.
but one that has immense gravitas to Maverick, providing him closure for the guilt he feels for having spent most of his life in the air, alone, away from everyone he cares about, instead of on the ground with them. This moment gives Maverick the permission he didn't know he needed in order to come to peace with that. Bates is there at the end as well, to give Maverick a cheer after he successfully completes the mission and lands the F-14 on the deck. Bates doesn't tell Maverick what to do, but he certainly gives him the suggestive guidance on what to do and the feedback after he does it. I find it very fitting that Admiral Bates' call sign is Warlock, the term used for a male witch, sorcerer, or wizard, someone with knowledge beyond mortal man, and for good or for ill, the power to use it on man. Warlock is assessing Maverick, to whether or not he belongs there, to whether or not he should ascend or not. Warlock is his guide, a mentor, an angel sent to help Maverick through the transition of death after life, especially when the death was traumatic, premature, and brought with it unfinished business. Warlock provides validation to Maverick that he is where he belongs, and that he doesn't have to leave. This gives Maverick the chance to let go of his doubts and fears and accept his fate of dying in the Dark Star. The rest of the characters are Mavericks based on his view of them, like the way we imagine people to be, or the way we remember them to be, instead of how they probably really were. Admiral Kane was perceived by Maverick to be crass, ugly, and mean, and that is how he acts towards Maverick during their last meeting. But this was Maverick's interpretation of him from his perspective. Kane, in Maverick's eyes, lays bare the truth of why Maverick has declined promotion to Admiral, has not retired, and has done everything in his power to keep flying. Kane verbalizes Maverick's fear of being replaced by unmanned aircraft that can fly higher and faster than any human pilot. The real Kane is what we see in the operations center during Maverick's last flight. Despite him being there to shut the program down, he shows his respect as a fellow pilot for Maverick's skill and fearlessness, and he is visibly saddened when the aircraft is lost. Maverick never saw Admiral Kane this way, so in his afterlife creation of him, Maverick creates a hostile antagonist to banter against. Mission pilots are all based on former pilots that Maverick knew or served with. They all have similar personalities to pilots he's flown with before. For example, Hangman clearly shows tendencies similar to Iceman. And a word about Hangman. I know he's written to be the narcissistic ass that no one is supposed to like, but I don't really think he's a bad guy. In fact, he's a very competent pilot, intelligent, and confident in his abilities. When he tells Rooster that he isn't a bad pilot but simply conservative, and that's why people don't want to fly with him. But if you watch closely, you can see that Hangman is completely correct. Rooster is conservative and risk-adverse. There is mirroring here of Iceman and Maverick's argument in the first film, where Iceman tells Maverick that he is a great pilot, but that he is unsafe, and that is why people don't want to fly with him.
You know I'm right.
Kidding me. Pete.
Penny?
Penny Benjamin is Maverick's creation of how he would like things to be. Is this what she really would look like today? We can never be sure. So more than likely, this is Penny as Maverick imagines her to be. Beautiful, confident, caring, kind, and ready for one more go at the relationship. We have no idea what the real Penny is like or how she feels about him. But in his dream world, Maverick can stay with her, have a life with her, clearly something he cares deeply about and regrets immensely from the real world. Bradley Bradshaw, Rooster, and Maverick have a strained relationship, one that Maverick truly regrets, but sees no way of really repairing. Maverick brings Rooster into his dream world in order to fix that, creating scenarios that attempt to prove how much he does care for Bradley, ultimately leading to Maverick sacrificing himself for him. The real magic moment came when they stole the F-14, solidifying their relationship, working together, and letting go of the past. And a quick side note to that, I think Warlock put those jets there for Maverick to find. Warlock's the only one that specifically mentions the F-14 in the mission briefing. I think he created them and knew that Maverick needed closure in his life and that the Tomcat was just the thing to do it. Coleman. One of the biggest clues in the movie that this isn't real is the existence of Warrant Officer Coleman, also known as Hondo. Hondo's an interesting character because he serves more as Maverick's personal aide and confidant. In the real world, Warrant Officer Coleman is assigned to the Skunk Works project. He assists with flight prep, pilot setup, and mission monitoring. He's there to help Maverick into the Dark Star jet and talks to him on the radio in the operations center. They clearly have a good working relationship, developed over the time that they've worked together on the project. They seem to know each other pretty well. After Maverick's crash, though, this is where things get a little weird. Maverick is given 24 hours to report to Top Gun to assist planning the special air-to-ground attack mission against the enemy. There's no reason why Hondo would be there as well. He would not be sent TDY or PCS to Top Gun simply to serve as Maverick's sidekick. Yet there he is in the briefing hangar when Maverick is being introduced, standing right beside a 2- and 3-star admiral. Hondo is on the carrier in the Indian Ocean. Hondo's the one to strap Maverick into his F-18. Hondo's on the carrier flight deck directing the layout of the barrier arresting net to catch the F-14. Hondo is at the jet when Maverick crash/lands. Hondo's the first person that Maverick greets with a smile and a hug. Hondo is Maverick's North Star, the one consistent thing he can always count on to stay grounded and focused as his limbo dream world rests on the edge of his control. Cyclone, or the Air Boss, at Top Gun. As a 3-star, I can imagine his responsibilities extend beyond the training of a one-mission group. I assume there is still a school class happening at Top Gun, or other administrative tasks that an admiral would be required to be a part of. But Cyclone is able to have almost a daily one-to-one relationship with Maverick and the pilots as they train. He also travels to the carrier to take personal command of the operations center, personally ordering the launch of aircraft, approving the strike on the enemy airfield. He appears in the control tower of the carrier, minus a coffee, to witness Maverick's last unapproved supersonic flyby. Iceman provides some continuity from the first film, as well as providing Maverick with cover for his antics over the years. Iceman continues to work, despite being ill, up until his last day, to protect Maverick from the powers that be and push him to accomplish the impossible. In Maverick's dream world, Iceman represents the path not taken. Maverick as Admiral Mitchell, Senator Mitchell, Instructor Mitchell. Iceman's illness for Maverick is the inescapable threat of mortality, no matter how good of a pilot you are, and his death reminds Maverick that his day will come too. But Maverick can't consider that possibility for himself. He has so much more to do before he can die. Iceman's death inside the dream pushes Maverick forward to get things done before he runs out of time. Whether you see this as purgatory, limbo, or something else, this afterlife created specifically for him, to let him live out his life, attempt redemption, perhaps over and over again until he gets it right, cleansing his soul of his fears, doubts, grief, and guilt so he can ascend to whatever higher plane of existence there may be. In this world, Maverick can reconcile with Rooster, Penny, the loss of friends, his career coming to an end, and learning how to step aside and let others take his place. And finally, in one last heroic moment, the F-14 landing on the carrier is also symbolic because it too has returned home where it belongs. At the very end of the film, we see Maverick and Penny flying away in his P-51 into the sunset. The sky is clear. They are the only plane in the sky. The sun looms before them, large, dominating the forward view. The sun represents the exit out of limbo, moving on, letting go, leaving all behind. Maverick has a choice to ascend or not. All he has to do is fly through it. But at the last moment, he decides to stay, turns the plane sharply away from the sunset. Pete decides that he doesn't want to leave, that this is where he's happy, this is where he belongs, and that this is where he wants to stay. Here in his dream world, he can live out, perhaps forever, the happiness of having friends, family, and the satisfaction of a life well lived. Some final thoughts, though. What's sad about this movie, though, is that Maverick dies. Everything we see is just Maverick's fantasy of how he would like to have had everything turn out. But back in the real world, everyone is left to remember him the way he was, the way things were. Rooster will never know how much guilt he carries for him, and may continue to resent Maverick, likely flying for the Navy in a successful, if unremarkable, career. Penny will never have known how much he loved her, and continues her life, wherever that may be, having gotten over Pete long ago. Her ownership of the bar could be a fabrication of Pete's fantasy as well as the silver Porsche. The only person that truly knows is Maverick himself, and that knowledge is now forever lost from the real world. That world moves on, never stopping, with only the briefest moments of news coverage about the loss of a test pilot in the aircraft above the western United States during a research flight. The saddest person is Maverick himself, and this is the realization that keeps him from moving on, keeps him in limbo at the beginning of the film, in a reality where he is the hero, and he is the only one that can make everything right. Relating to the movie itself, though, I see this as what a 10 out of 10 movie can be, a truly perfect movie. At no point, even on repeat viewing, is there ever a scene I feel compelled to skip through. The story progresses quickly, yet is not rushed. There is action, romance, humor, and drama, but it's all tastefully done and never feels unnecessary or overblown. The film doesn't bog itself down with trying to explain itself. We don't need to know the geopolitical landscape. We don't need to know what events in the preceding months or years led up to a strike on a uranium processing compound. We only need to know that it's the enemy, and we are in a conflict with them. I like that things are not explained because they don't need to be. We don't need to know what happened before or after. It's just what it is and it's moved on. And as far as the people, Cyclone, Warlock, and Hondo being everywhere, it's not realistic, but it does provide continuity for the audience and makes it easier to follow what's going on. The visual effects of the movie are simply outstanding. If you didn't know that the F-14 wasn't real, I don't think you'd be able to tell. The aircraft moves smoothly, water and snow blow off the mountain as the jets fly by. It is simple and perfect. This is what true movie making is all about. 10,000 people worked to create a product that will still be appreciated in 50 years. A film that will be loved by someone not even born yet. Now, whether Maverick was in the real world, limbo, or imagination land, I leave that up to you. I hope this was interesting to you. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and see you next time.
I know.